Hi and welcome to GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. Just a quick note on that, they are my reviews, views and opinions, sometimes previews. If you're going to leave disgusting messages on my YouTube page, or rather you didn't, I pay no attention to them whatsoever. They don't upset me, I just rather you wouldn't do it. Thank you. Anyway, moving on. I'm doing a quick video on what some call the Hebrew Trinity, the Holy Trinity, or whatever you want to call it. And basically what that means is three lenses that will get you through most professional photo shoots. This will get you through a wedding, some sports photography, portraits, some studio work. These three lenses pretty much cover the range you'll need, other than getting into serious sports photography when you start using 300mm lenses, 400mm lenses, or bird watching or things like that. But these will do for most jobs. So my intention 6 months ago, when I reinvented myself as a photographer, was to end up with these three lenses and then progress from there. Now unfortunately I'm not minted, so I can't afford the Nikon equivalents, and I think if you did a quick tot up on what this would cost if you was buying Nikon lenses, I think you'd you would be in the thousands of pounds. I've done it by scrimping, saving for certain lenses, doing deals, buying and selling a few bits and bobs, and buying second hand as well off of eBay and such like. So we'll start at this end. Now this is the only lens that's sort of up for debate really. Now I've got the 18-50 2.8. Now firstly, these are all 2.8 lenses, kit lenses. The one I'm using there, the 18-105 VR, that's I think it's a 4.5 to 5.6 lens. These are all 2.8 aperture all the way through, and what that means is when you zoom, the aperture does not change as it does with some of the cheaper kit lenses, and that's what you're after, because you don't want your settings to change just because you're zooming. So these are all 2.8 lenses. So we've got the 18-50 2.8. Now you could replace that with something like I think it's like something like a 14-24 on the Nikon, but you can get equivalent Tokinas, Tamrons, etc. if you want to go much wider. Now I've got 18 as my widest, and that does me. I don't ever have a need for the 14mm fisheye or anything like that. If I did, I'd just buy a single lens on its own, but I have no need for that. So 18-50, I use that as my macro lens as well, because it's the best out of these three really for macro. None of these lenses are VR, as you can see. They're all non-VR or OS lenses, and I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. Because they're 2.8, you're generally getting plenty of light in. So there you have the Sigma 18-50 2.8. Okay, that's a lovely lens. Secondly, which is my new addition to the family, is the Sigma 24-70, again f2.8. You could probably do a whole wedding with that lens alone. The only downside to that is when you're doing portraits, you have to get quite close to the subject, but no problem with that at all. It's a funny old lens, and this is the slightly older model, in that the focus ring, when you're in autofocus mode, just spins, so you can sort of hold your camera and turn it, which I don't like so much, because there's nothing really to get hold of on the camera that doesn't turn. Like when you're picking it up and putting it on your body, you have to sort of hold this middle section here, because you've got the zoom ring there, the aperture ring there, and then so you have to hold this bit. So not keen on that idea. And when you want to change to manual focus, you pull it back and clicks into manual focus. You then have to click the camera into manual focus, so it's a two-stage process. But that's your thing there. Obviously you zoom there. Now the other weird thing about this is when you're zoomed into 70, it's at its shortest, and it just dips very briefly at about 50 and then goes out to 24, which is the opposite way around to normal. I don't know why. It's just a weird Sigma thing. I think it's to get the compactness. The other thing to note on these lenses is when you zoom, the rear element is actually moving, so there is a chance of some suction going on there, but I've never had a problem with it pulling in dirt, because at the end of the day none of these lenses are weather sealed. That's the downside of buying the Sigmas over the Nikons. They're not weather sealed, so bear that in mind. but that's a lovely lens, and it's like a dual sort of middle of the road lens. Then both of these I bought second hand. I got this one for about 150. I paid about 220 for that. So 220 and one, so 370. In Nikon terms, you'll probably be up to about nearer £2.5 grand by now. Add on this one and you're up to probably about £4 grand in total. This is the only lens that I bought brand new. It cost me 600 quid, but that was only because the second-hand ones were holding their value so well. It wasn't worth buying a second-hand one, and I really wanted a new one. So this is the Sigma 70-200 2.8. Absolutely fantastic portrait lens. You can use it for sports if you're close enough. To get you going, it's absolutely fine for sports. They all focus quickly, they all lock in pretty well, and you know, don't get me wrong, none of these are as good as their Nikon equivalents, but when you look at the 6, 7, 8, 900, less than £1,000 I've paid for these, if you've got the Nikon equivalents, you're probably looking at 1,600, 17, 2,600. Probably about 300, yeah, probably about £4 grand if you was to buy the Nikon equivalent. So I'm £3 grand better off. Well, not better off, I haven't got it, so it's as simple as that. So yep, that's the 70-200, a beautiful lens, lovely and creamy on the focusing and the zoom. These two have both got issues. One to do with suction on the zoom. When it's on the camera body, when you start zooming that, there is a little bit of extra resistance because of the suction of the inside moving. The 18-50 does the same thing, but you don't notice it so much. And the manual focus ring is a little bit sort of slack on that. Let's have a look. The 70-200 doesn't move the back element, so no issues with that one. They're all got metal mounts at the back, and as I say, none of them are weather sealed. The 18-50 and the 70-200 will work on all Nikon bodies, autofocus. This one will only work on ones with the drive motor, like the D7000 and the D300, etc. So it won't work on a D3000 or 3100 or the 5100 I'm recording on. So there's my sort of holy trinity of lenses. All f2.8s, all Sigmas, all matching, and all work absolutely fantastically on my Nikon D7000. You get no issues with picture quality of any of these lenses whatsoever. Anyway, I hope that's some help. Thanks a lot. Cheers, bye.